to Nim and Nylene's Nightmare Cottage, where we discuss dark locations, sinister media, and other tales of the macabre. I'm Nim.
And I'm Nylene. Let the nightmare begin. And welcome back to another episode with the Nightmare Bitches.
Oh, I love that.
In my best radio voice. Yeah, no.
We've kind of been through it.
We have. We've been getting through it. Yeah. I know it's cliche to say it, but 2025, I thought it was going to be my year.
I don't know.
It might still be, but like, man. It's going to be, it's going to be
an adventure.
Expensive.
Well, you know, no adventure is free.
So Nim knows. She knows everything that happened, but I'm going to share with the world the chaos of my new year. My birthday is on January 8th. My husband's is on January 9th. So we do a co-celebration. So it's a whole thing. I happen to work that day. So, went to work. They told me to go home early because it was my birthday. They were like, have fun, have a good time. My husband works right down the street. Just so happened his building did not have running water that day. So they let him off early too. So I went to go pick him up, picked up my kid, went home. And I was like, you know what? It's such a beautiful day. It's about to be really, really cold and icy. And we're not going to be able to go outside for a few days, like out, not like outside. Like I wouldn't die if I went outside, but you know what I mean? I was like, you know what? Do you want to go for a walk to my kid? And he's like, I want to ride my bicycle. This kid never wants to ride his bicycle. He hasn't wanted to ride his bicycle since we got it like 2 years ago.
Oh.
Yes. Insane. Okay, let's get on the bike. So he got on his little bike. He's having the time of his life. And I'm walking around the neighborhood and I keep hearing a meowing sound. And it's a circular neighborhood. I don't understand how it's possible that no matter where I go, I hear a meowing sound.
Aww.
So I went to the center of the neighborhood and there's this big storm drain. It's square-shaped, like one of the square-shaped storm drains where water goes through any end. And inside, I see two tiny little glowing eyes and the loudest meow you will ever hear. I could not leave that poor little kitty down there right before this big storm in Coyote Country because that's where I live. It was tough. So my kid immediately is telling me to call the firefighters because he's 3 and he's been watching a lot of, like save the kitty. He's like looking for firefighters. He wants us to get a crane. He's telling me to get the cement mixer for some reason.
Because he's going to save the kitty with the cement mixer.
I don't know. A lot of people should have been called. But I was like, let's go get daddy. So we went and got daddy from the house. First thing we tried to do was a blanket down the storm drain to see if it would climb on. It did not want any part of that. We tried a board to see if it would climb it. Did not want any part of that. We tried to coax it out with treats. It just wanted to crunch on them down there. So finally, my sweet, sweet husband went down into the storm drain, even though he's very scared of dark, confined spaces, and got that little kitty out. And the second I saw it, I knew that I had to keep it. So
it's the cat distribution system.
Okay, the amount of times I have heard people say that is like, I've literally never heard this phrase before.
Well, it's because you probably don't ever get on Reddit.
That's true. My husband was like, it's all over the internet.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well.
To be fair, though, Monkey hadn't heard of it either. Because I was like, did you know that Nylene had never heard of the cat distribution system? And he's like, what?
He's like, the what? Well, we're the same person.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
So yeah.
But he's all over Reddit, so I don't know.
That's true. That's fair. That is a weird one. Yeah. So I ended up calling Nim over because I do not have cats.
I'm also going to start this by saying that Nylene does not call me. We don't speak on the phone.
No.
We text and we talk in person.
And even worse is I video called you.
Yes.
I do not do that because we are both very anxious, nervous people. And that's just not something you do to someone who's anxious and nervous.
Right.
It's like there's something on fire if I am calling you, especially face calling.
You called me. You video called me. That made me feel like this was very important. Also, it was your birthday. Am I ever going to not answer the phone on your phone?
Oh, yeah. It was my birthday.
So yeah, I get a call. And as soon as I open it, I see Bash playing with a cat inside Nylene's home. Nylene doesn't have a cat.
And listen, we have all talked about, and like no shame to anyone out there who's done it, but like I just don't feel like pets are presents. Like that's not something we do. So she knows that's out of the ordinary for me to have a cat for my birthday. Like, I'm not going to go out on my birthday specifically and get a cat. No one's going to give me one because that's just not,
It's just not how
it,
it's done.
it needs to be a well thought out thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I struggled with a little bit, to be honest, is I felt bad that I didn't make this conscious decision to have a cat.
And you're such a planner.
Yes, I'm such a planner. But yeah, Nim brought over some litter and some food and everything we needed to hunker down for a few days with the kitty while it iced and pretended to snow outside. And honestly, she's been so sweet. It's a tortie. I don't know if any of y'all know what that is, but it's like a tortoiseshell colored
Y'all, she's
coat.
like a Halloween cat. She is half black, half orange, and it's all mixed in it, and it's so cute and so pretty, and she's got the sweetest eyes, and she purrs constantly.
Apparently, these cats are supposed to be like the sassiest little creatures in the world, beyond what most cats are already. I haven't seen that yet. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I have a new nightmare kitty.
We have a new
We do. Yes,
I have a new niece.
Her name is Sushi. Sushi. Yeah, she likes it.
I think it's fitting.
Yeah, I do too. She's very sweet. She gives nice, soft little bites and nibbles whenever something she doesn't like, but it's all very gentle and soft and nice. So far for me not having been a cat person, really, it's been really great. So I just couldn't take her to a shelter because I know what happens. There's like so many animals out there. I couldn't do it. And she's so sweet. So I told her she just has to get along with my doggy, Dojo. Yeah, so far, she's not a fan. He wants to cuddle with her. She does not want him to come near her. And I'm thinking maybe she's just afraid of dogs, but
it's a whole new situation, and he's an awfully weird looking cat.
So real quick, the whole coincidences of it all. Because I asked my husband, I was like, are you going to be upset if I keep this kitty? And he said, there are entirely too many coincidences that had to have happened for you to have found this cat that I cannot tell you that you can't keep it. So follow your heart, which is like the worst thing you can say to me because I am so indecisive. For Christmas, him and my son picked out from the store this little lucky cat, right? That's where it starts, which was really funny. And then the same day, my birthday, that I found the cat, the same day, we were at work talking about how everyone had gotten new pets over the holiday, and they were saying, it's time for you to get an animal, Nylene. And I said, if anything, I would get a cat, but I'm just not doing that, and introduce the cat.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, it was my birthday, but we took her to the vet. She weighs 4.7 pounds, which is exactly what my son weighed when he was born because he was a preemie. And her birthday is the same week as my son's. So it's just like, it feels like it's a little too meant to be.
A little on the nose.
Yeah, and I had to be off work. My son had to magically decide he wanted to go for a walk and ride his bike, which he never does. Like, all of it had to have happened. The universe gave me a cat, and I have accepted this cat.
It's usually hit or miss with kitties. Like, she's a snuggler.
Yeah, she is.
She's so cuddly. She loves pets. She will sit on laps, and that's, I can't think of a more perfect cat for you.
Yeah, I agree. So here's to good things. I know I have been hogging this whole segment, so if you want to...
No, it's okay, but I will say that we must put Sushi on the social medias and whatnot.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah, share her with the world. Everybody deserves to see Sushi.
One day I wish we could get all three of them together, but I don't know.
That's future us's potential adventure. If the moment happens, it happens. But I assume what would have to happen is I'd have to bring Graham over.
Yeah,
he likes. He has his harness. We put his hoodie on for the snowstorm.
Did he like it?
He didn't hate it, but after a while he wants to like bathe, right? So he couldn't lick his armpits because they were right. So he doesn't hate it. He seems like snuggling in it, and when we went outside, I know he was happy to have it. I even stepped outside and let the snow hit his head, and he was very ready to go back inside.
Oh, yeah, no, I do want to. That was another thing I wanted to ask you guys about, some tips about harness training, because I do want to be able to like let her come outside with me on the back porch.
Patience, because it's a months long process of put the harness on and watch her flop and not want to move, and keep it on for a little bit and then take it off, and you do it for. You start for a few minutes at a time, and then you work up to an hour at a time, and you work on getting her to play while it's on it. We'll talk about it when you do it, but it is a process, and you just got to be patient.
Got it. So how about you? What have you been up to besides helping, me take in stray cats?
I mean, that's been a big part of it. I don't know, man. Time means nothing to me right now because we had basically 2 snow days off of work and I didn't leave the house for those. And I didn't leave the house yesterday either. And coming to the Nightmare Cottage today was the first time I'd left the house. And I get 2 doors down away from my house on the way to the Nightmare Cottage and something doesn't sound right. Turns out I have a very, very, very flat tire.
Oh.
So I go back and I get Monkey's car and I head this way. But like, there's just that chaos and I don't know. Everything's fine.
Just messy.
Just messy. Things are good, but it's this, this post-holiday restructuring after the first of the year, and there was not like really a calm moment, and I feel like I usually get a calm moment.
Oh, yeah.
And that didn't happen this year, which is fine, but,
Yeah.
I'm not as far ahead as I'd like to be by this time, but still the beginning of the year, we got time to make 2025 awesome.
True. And I'm feeling confident because like right before, even though I had 2 weeks off, it was the busiest 2 weeks I've ever had off. I still got the house cleaned. As you've seen, it's what's it called? Devolved.
It's entropy. Entropy is
your glasses are falling down. You might want to. There you go.
As I get ready to actually.
I thought entropy was like when something like is decaying or like
it's a scientific concept that refers to a measure of disorder or randomness within a system.
Oh, never mind.
So
I'm thinking atrophy.
Oh,
atrophy.
Yeah,
sorry,
not
that
thing.
one. No, not that word.
But yeah, entropy. It's real. It happens. That's why after a week of playing a video game with Monkey, when I don't normally take the time to play video games, my kitchen has been mounded over with bullshit. Despite the fact I haven't been cooking, it's just stuff set on the counters. And
listen, this is life. You're just living your best life, and that's okay.
I am living some kind of life for sure.
All right, listeners. So you heard it here first. Word of the day:
entropy.
As I stated, my life has been chaos. So I did something relatively short, so I'm happy you have something very long. There's so much that goes into this topic that I am a little sad that I couldn't go deeper, but I might just do another episode one day that goes into other stuff on it.
I feel that.
So I was I came across this thing on like makeup and how it used to be really bad for us, right? I'm not talking about like in the 1700s or even the 1800s. I'm talking about like 1900s and on, like when we should have started knowing a little bit better.
So I want to say that it was the first time I really even considered something like that was when you were pregnant with Bash, and you were like, I can't wear anything that has talc in it, and like everything has talc in it. And I was like, what does that have to do with it? Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
Never thought, I mean, I know that topical medications and stuff are a thing. So of course it makes sense that anything you put on your skin can have, I never considered it.
Yeah.
Until then.
And it's crazy too, because even my mom was like, oh, we didn't worry about any of this stuff and you came out fine. And I'm like, and that's fair.
But did you though? Oh, wait. No. Just kidding. I love you.
Oh.
Sorry.
Rude. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, like, it's just, a level of care once you know things. But I saw something, I think it was probably TikTok or something that was talking about makeup back in the day. And then it made me want to look into like wellness and health regulations, like prior to regulations, what things looks like in the new world when things were starting to, not just in the new world, like as in the US, but like also just in general in that time period.
Post-industrial revolution, like.
Yeah. So what did that look like? So we're going to start in 1898 when Marie Curie, we know who that is.
Yes.
She was a Polish-French scientist. She coined the term radioactivity when she discovered radium. And by discovered is she isolated what was now known to be radium. Medical practitioners at that time found that they could successfully use radium for x-rays to treat cancer, tuberculosis. So a lot of the consumer brands started to capitalize on this. And they said, radiation therapy has a really good reputation for wellness.
Oh, no.
Yeah, to the point where brands are claiming to be radioactive, even if they're not. They're like, this is radioactive. Like, it's like Fallout over here. Like, so exciting. Yeah.
I'm like appalled right now.
It gets worse.
Oh, God.
Yes. So one example of this came in 1932 in a new line of scientific beauty products. That was in quotes.
Yeah, she's using the air quotes now.
Little bunny ears. Scientific beauty products that were introduced under the name Thoradia by pharmacist Alex Musali. I had to be really careful there. It's not Mussolini, it's Musali.
Ooh.
Alexis Musali. He brought on the physician Alfred Curie as the figurehead of the company. It's assumed that he brought on Alfred to capitalize on his last name of Curie, which had been made famous by Marie and Pierre. So, side note on this, Marie Curie and Pierre Curie actually tried to take on legal action for the company trying to attach the name Curie to these products.
So this was an unrelated Curie?
Yes, it was an unrelated Curie. They don't even know if his name really was Curie or... Yeah, it's crazy. But nothing ever came of the legal action. I guess they couldn't, right, at the time.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the line of Thoradia, it was named after the radioactive elements it contained, thorium, radium, and bromide. This new brand promised to improve circulation, firm muscle tissue, reduce fat, smooth wrinkles,
and give you cancer.
At the time, all that was known about radioactive items was that they were pure energy. Because of this, all of these products implied that they would add vibrancy and glow to your skin, teeth, hair, and general health. Maybe even a real glow. This line of products included lipstick, face powder, ointments, soap, suppositories,
oh my God,
razor blades, energy drinks, and condoms.
Oh my God.
Yes. So these days, even the idea is a nightmare. But during that time, it was more easily accepted.
So, and you said this was the 1890s, 1898?
This was in 1930.
1930s.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. As it turns out, the radioactive cosmetics like creams didn't provide the revitalizing effects that they promised.
No kidding.
But they had such low levels of radioactivity because, think of it, luckily radium was very expensive. Very, very expensive to come by, to incorporate into these creams and stuff. So,
well, and it breaks down so fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with a lot of the creams, like even nowadays, like they retested them, I think in the 60s and 70s, the older products. And they still tested for a little bit left. So the half-life was still there, but it wasn't enough to cause any harm, right? Luckily for the creams, it had such low levels that damage was very limited to the people. But another example of, the harmful wellness products was an ingestible product called Radithor.
Oh, no.
So it caused a lot more damage. It was, quote, certified radioactive water, which consisted of distilling water with radium dissolved into it. It was advertised as, quote, a cure for the living dead, end quote, and promised to cure a plethora of problems from diabetes to sexual decline.
Oh my God.
This drink ended up killing its most famous promoter, American socialite and athlete Eben Byers, who was well known to drink up to 3 bottles of Radithor every day for years upon being prescribed it by his doctor.
Jeez.
Yeah. Upon his death in 1932, news headlines read, quote, the radium water worked fine until his jaw came off, end quote. Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh.
What a headline, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, the expensive price kept damage limited to few consumers. So a lot of the radium products, luckily, like I said, it was very expensive. So the damage was very limited. But other ones, not so well, right?
Is this like rich bitches now putting stone eggs into their vaginas? Where the rich people are the only ones who are...
I'm sorry, what?
Are you familiar with Goop?
Yes.
With Gwyneth Paltrow's.
Yes.
She sells things like candles that smell like her vagina. She promotes things like horrible, like vagina enemas with whatever the fuck. I can't remember what, but it was awful. And she sells these.
Isn't a vagina enema just a douche?
Listen, if you're rich, it's a vagina enema.
Okay, sorry.
And she sells jade eggs and the various stones that you put into your vagina for some reason. Doctors tell you to not do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm probably going to have to cut all of that out because I don't want to get sued. But because, people listen to our podcast. Yes. But whatever. Yeah, it's a thing. Rich bitches will do anything for youth and beauty. And
would you say that rich bitches get stitches because they're going under the knife?
Jesus Christ.
I'm just saying. Anyways. So these examples, along with the well-documented damage to the radium girls, made the public and government take a second look at the use of radium and other ingredients that might cause harm to consumers. So in 1937, we're coming around, and the French government restricted the sale of products that contained thorium and radium. And in 1938, the Federal Food and Drug and Cosmetic Act outlawed deceptive packaging, which made it harder for these types of products to promote unproven claims for miracle cures. So Thoradia, one of the ones we were talking about, they continued to make products all the way through the 1960s, but they removed a good amount of the radioactive materials that they contained. So one of the really amazing things that came from the 1938 Act was a public campaign by the FDA's exhibition titled American Chamber of Horrors. Have you heard of this?
No, it sounds just right up my alley.
Yeah, if you haven't heard of this, I mean, it's not like traditional horror, obviously.
Yeah, but like that's kind of what we do, right?
Yeah, but yeah, if you haven't heard of it, like look it up. It's really interesting. Not only did it highlight the dangers in the beauty industry, but it also opened the public's eyes to like toxic ingredients, exaggerated promotional claims, and a lot of other industries, specifically foods. So some of the health and beauty products that were highlighted in this Chamber of Horrors were dinitrophenol, Lash Lure, Othine, and Paragla. So I'm going to talk about each one. Dinitrophenol, it was touted as a supplement to accelerate the metabolism and help with weight loss. So this industrial chemical eventually caused the user to experience a fatal blood disorder and or cataracts. Because it was classified as a cosmetic and not a drug, it was outside of normal regulation. So that's one of the things that this FDA thing started highlighting was like, there's a lot of stuff outside of the scope of regulation that we need to. Coremlu, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Coremlu?
I'm leaving that in.
Thanks. It was supposed to help remove unwanted hair. So think like Nair, which I don't know if have you ever used Nair?
I'm aware of. Yeah, I
know you're aware of Nair.
I used it like way back in the day, like over 20 years.
You're hairless. I don't know how that's possible, but anyways, I don't know. This was a top seller, sold over 120,000 jars just in the first year alone. And the main active ingredient in Coremlu was thallium acetate, which was commonly used as rodenticide. So it was rat poison.
I'm sorry. Are you trying to infer that Nair?
Not Nair.
Okay.
Not Nair.
Like, do I have cancer in my legs from using it 20 years ago?
Coremlu, that was what it was meant to do. Like it was supposed to be like Nair, where like you put it on and it removes your hair.
Okay.
I'm just saying I'm comparing it to a current day product.
Got it.
So
Okay.
No, don't sue us. Nair does not contain rodenticide that I know of, and you should be fine. It just smells really fucking bad.
Oh yeah. Well, at least it used to. I don't know.
And burns like a motherfucker. So anyways, it contained rat poison, which eventually caused consumers to experience neuromuscular damage, respiratory problems, blindness, permanent hair loss. So I guess it kind of did what it was supposed to do, but there was one report that a consumer lost her teeth, her eyesight, her ability to walk, and she caused her to lose her job because she couldn't do anything anymore.
Wow.
So, yeah. Another one was Lash Lure. It was like early days mascara and eyebrow dye. It was coal tar based, and it caused users to lose their eyebrows and eyelashes. In some really bad cases, it caused vision impairment and blindness.
Right.
Othine was touted as a way to remove dark spots and brighten skin. Its active ingredient was mercury. Users risked bone deterioration, tooth loss, neurological damage, pulmonary damage, renal damage, cognitive and sensory impairment, and of course, death, because it's mercury. And lastly, Paralga, yes, was advertised as a weight loss supplement that contained aminoprine and barbiturates. This led to something called, I'm so sorry, guys, a granulocytis, which basically just eliminated white blood cells completely in women. And of course, left you open to infections, and they couldn't fight off the infections, so they died. While these enforcements by the FDA didn't completely protect consumers, it was a good start to educate them about what was in the products that they were using. So manufacturers now have to provide scientific proof that products are safe to use before they put them on the market. They also have to ensure that labels are accurate, have necessary approvals by the FDA, or risk being fined. It's not a perfect system, but we do see this today in our current day regulations and voluntary or forced recalls that keep us safe.
That's all very terrifying.
Yeah. And that's it for me.
Wow. I know that the FDA doesn't regulate everything. So,
yeah, they just started regulating how much lead can be in infant products.
Right. I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't regulate supplements at all.
Correct.
And so many people just
Yep.
take those, and there's no guaranteeing that what's in it is what's in it.
Correct.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it's all crazy, but I mean, baby steps hopefully will get us somewhere, but it's crazy to look back. There's a lot of stuff that I'm probably going to incorporate in some other episodes too. Like this was just very baseline. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of time, but there's just so much out there that we've looked at and just been like, yeah, this is totally healthy for you. I mean, everyone knows cigarettes. Like everyone was like, cigarettes, smoke them when you're pregnant. It'll help you. I don't know what we thought that
it'll
could
help
do.
you something.
I don't know. So what happened?
So this story took a lot out of me.
Okay.
The story changed from the time I started researching to the time I finished it as far as what I was going to do. I knew Mary Shelley was a badass.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about her before in I think our first ever Nightmare Fuel.
Yeah.
Mother of science fiction, kept her husband's heart wrapped in a silk bag after his death. She was a fucking goddess. So my intent when I started the story was to briefly touch on her and then to focus on Frankenstein or the modern Prometheus. But then I started my research process, which is becoming a bit of a ritual, which I love, so thanks for giving me a reason to do that. But the ritual was a bit upended this time. I usually cover a lot of ancient folklore and traditions, and though I spend quite a bit of time poring over what the internet has to offer me, even tearing it down to what the scholars have been able to discover through the wee bits of evidence and tradition that we have left, the amount of information is usually simmered down to a few points, right? So there's only so much I can share, and I, despite all of the resources, I usually get about the same information.
Yeah, I was running into that problem too.
And it's not necessarily a problem, but that's usually why, I don't know, first of all, that's usually why it's so easy to contain my research, because there's only so much to work with.
I don't know, it's a problem for me, because I'm like even like some of the stuff, they're like, well, the radium thing, it really sucked and it hurt people. I'm like, but how? And they're like, it just hurt people. And I'm like, how? And they're like, people got hurt. And I'm like, cool, how did they get hurt? And they're like, yep.
Yeah. Good point. Excellent point. Because you have to get through some of those resources with paywalls to get the real information. I have run into that so much.
Yeah.
At this point, there's a few that I've hit a couple of times that I might end up just.
Let me know so we can just get a group subscription.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But yeah, so I get down to those bullet pointed bits, and then I get kind of snagged on some of the lesser known resources. My brain just is like, oh, that's not as official or whatever, which I realize is completely antithetical to the tradition of folklore and folktales, because it's, word of mouth and spread the way it is, right? But still, I usually try to stick with, reputable scholars and historians and websites that.
Yeah, but we can't access a lot of scientific journals because, again, they're behind.
Yeah. So anyway, I ran into something wholly different this time. Not only did Mary Shelley live in a much more recorded time and place in history than what I usually cover, she was a very voracious writer. She kept correspondence with a lot of people. A lot of those letters still survive.
Oh, wow.
And she also pretty much constantly kept up a journal.
Oh, that's cool.
And several of those have been published. Many of her friends were writers, philosophers, scholars, and the real similar, types of people. And they also had many letters and journals that you can reference today. And so there's really just a whole lot more to pull from.
So question.
Yeah.
Before I bring this up, are you going to mention how the idea of Frankenstein came to be?
Of course.
Okay. I was just wondering before I brought it up, because I was like, that's so cool. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Yes. In fact, I ended up having to mostly focus on that because there's just so much information that I really couldn't diverge too much. And since my original intent was really to kind of follow the evolution of the story of Frankenstein from the book to, throughout the generations of media that have come out, we're coming up on the 200th anniversary of we passed the 200th anniversary of the release, because it was originally published in 1819.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But through all the personal writing and as well as the published works of Mary Shelley and her entourage, a really vibrant picture of her life was teased out, and damn, her life was interesting. All of that to say, this is more Mary Shelley than Frankenstein, but it's still both. Quite honestly, I wasn't even able to get into all the resources I wanted to. Several books and movies and documentaries and stuff on my to-be read and watched list at this point that, even though I'm done with, I feel like I should have waited on this story and continued to research it,
because we have so many on the back burner.
I know. There's just so much here. The amount of stuff I've left on the cutting room floor for this story, and it's still going to be overly long. Also, it's worth mentioning that if reality shows were a thing in the 1810s and 1820s, Mary Shelley and what she called her Italian circle would have been prime targets for content. They were just very dramatic. And
real world Mary Shelley and Italian.
Yeah. Well, let's call it real world Geneva. Let's start with that, because that's where the creation of the story happened. Okay. But we'll get there. So, Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin Shelley might have been seen as a Nepo baby if she didn't struggle financially most of her life. Her parents were William Godwin, who was politically progressive and a philosopher of enlightenment, and Mary Wollstonecraft, who was a super feminist and wrote A Vindication of the Rights of Women, which is still upheld as influential in women's rights today. I mean, these were two really great thinkers, and they actually met at a dinner party with Thomas Paine, who wrote Common Sense. I don't know if
The name sounds familiar.
yeah, it's a U.S. history bullet point there. They spent the evening arguing, disagreeing with everything each other had to say, and then 5 years later, they were married with a baby on the way.
Oh.
So I lost actually a lot of time diving deep into her parents because they were truly remarkable people. And if they were even a little bit spooky, I'd find a way to do stories on one or both of them. But today we focus on Mary Shelley. So as I mentioned, there's an absurd amount of information on every single person, in her name, which, Mary Wollstonecraft, Godwin, Shelley. Wollstonecraft is her mother, Godwin is her father, and then Shelley, her husband, which we'll talk about him in a moment. It wasn't until the scholars began looking into her personal writings in the 1980s that people really stopped to actually look at her for her. She was mostly known for being Percy Shelley's wife by scholars, and her writing of one of the most lasting novels on the fucking planet was really just a footnote. Many people even question if she really wrote the story, assuming it was written by her husband instead.
Wow.
I know. Through examinations of the revisions and notes made by Percy in the notebooks and stuff that, were used for this, it's almost on par with that of a standard line editor. Like, he really, she fucking wrote the book.
Yeah.
I digress. The first touch of darkness to hit Mary's life was actually the death of her mother 11 days after she was born.
Aww.
Her mother contracted a postpartum fever that was likely due to the doctor's attempts at removing the broken placenta in a less than sanitized situation.
Yeah.
Her father was deeply heartbroken, and Mary was raised reading her mother's writing and very much cherished the idea of her.
Mm.
She spent a lot of time at her mother's grave, and she even learned to write her name by tracing the letters on the gravestone.
Aww.
She would go there to read and write and just generally chill. As I mentioned, her parents were quite remarkable and at least a little bit famous. William Godwin had many followers and fans. He was also supremely in debt. He was frequently saved from this by his powerful friends and affluent fans. One such potential benefactor was Percy Shelley. He was a poet and a philosopher who had been a fan of William and his wife's work, and was very eager to meet with him. He had agreed to help William with his debts. Percy's aristocratic family didn't approve of his philosophical views that money should be used to help people that needed it. So they pinched off his allowances until he came into his inheritance. Rich people problems, am I right? Anyways, this may have been what led Percy to withdraw his offer to settle William's debts, which understandably ticked off William. Meanwhile, during his courting of ideas with William, he was also just plain courting William's daughter, despite being married. Scandalo.
Oh my gosh.
The two would meet at her mother's grave and talk about philosophy, her parents' work, and other similarly sexy and tantalizing topics. Eventually, Mary confessed her love to Percy, and then he popped her cherry on her mother's grave.
Oh my god.
She was 16 and he was 21, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't know. Soon after this, Mary, Percy, and her stepsister Claire Claremont took off to travel through France, journaling all the while. This was in 1814. She came home pregnant, and her father was thoroughly displeased and turned her away, which she was very much not expecting. Her family and domesticity was a very core value of Mary's, and she very much believed one should never cast out their family, so this was very, very hard on her. Unfortunately, the baby passed away before it was named.
Aww.
Naturally, this was extraordinarily impactful on Mary and would affect the tone of her writing in a lot of ways, which we'll touch on soon. Just switching gears a little bit, let's head into 1816, the year without a summer.
Okay.
The year without a summer was basically a year where global temperatures dropped due to 2 years in a row of major volcanic activity. First in the Philippines in 1814, and then a major blast from Mount Tambora in what is now Indonesia in 1815, which the volcanic ash blocks sun and
vegetation.
Absolutely, yeah. Temperatures drop. Europe experienced some of the most drastic disruptions with the coldest days on record for over 200 years. In addition to the extreme agricultural pressure due to massive crop failures, this was also when a group of artistic 20-somethings, well, okay, Lord Byron was just barely 30, but still. Then when these 20-somethings escaped to a couple of rental properties in Switzerland to be young, pretentiously smart, and progressive. So part of Mary and Percy's shared philosophy was that monogamy was for chumps, and they didn't care about marriage. It was agreed upon that either of them could take additional lovers, but it seemed to be a bit one-sided. There are many women who were likely lovers of Percy's, but most documentation makes it seem like Mary may have flirted with a few people, but she really only wanted Percy.
I'm assuming he divorced his wife and then they got married, right? Or no, they never got married.
Okay, yeah. So this was one of the bullet points that got dropped, but I'm going to talk about it now since you asked. He did not divorce his wife. He was estranged when he first went to go meet with William Godwin,
Mm-hmm.
and flirted with Little Miss Mary despite being married. And also Harriet, his wife, was pregnant. When they get back from this 1816 trip to Geneva,
Yeah.
Harriet, after having the child, committed suicide.
Oh.
And then Percy and Mary got married pretty much immediately.
Did she commit suicide?
Harriet, yeah, she did.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a whole lot about it, actually. Like, it's its whole own story. There's so many big stories within these people. Yeah. They had been estranged. They hadn't been close, but she was still having to deal with the fact that her husband was with this young trollop and, gallivanting across Europe and doing all of this stuff while she was raising her babies. And because he had one previous child. And I will say also, after she passed away, they basically agreed to give the children to the church. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an asshole.
They didn't, the court said he was unfit.
Why?
Probably because he was unfit. These were party kids, and he was constantly escaping debtors and things like that. But yeah, that's one of the very, very many stories I did not include in this. But it's like, God, there's a lot of
that is horrific in its own way.
It really, really is.
Sorry. Anyways,
no.
So
please.
They escaped to this place.
Yeah, the year without a summer. Mary, Percy, and Claire were joined on this excursion, which at this point they were actually avoiding debtors. And then they were joined by Lord Byron, who was avoiding the fact that he was becoming famous for his writing, and he was also basically a pansexual romantic disaster. He slept around a lot and just needed to get away.
Nothing against pansexual or romantic disasters.
No, I would say
we have both of those in our lives.
I was about to say I am that myself. And he also brought his doctor friend John William Polidori, who ends up, you may know him from writing The Vampire, which was a short story but ended up, it's probably the most inspirational original vampire stories, and has the most vampire lore that is most stuck to now, and it even inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh, I did not know that.
He started that in this Year Without a Summer, even though there's some debate whether Lord Byron came up with it or not. But the actual story was written by John Polidori. Anyways, so that's who all's here. We've got Mary and Percy Shelley, Claire Claremont, Lord Byron, and John William Polidori.
Okay.
So aside from Claire, who's really kind of most known for the company she kept, this group was very, very influential in modern poetry and literature. So like kind of a powerhouse kind of thing. And so real talk, this scenario, the whole them being holed up in this house, combined with the fact that I read The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. Are you familiar with that at all?
I've heard of it.
Okay. When I was really too young to appreciate the tragedy of it. These two situations are the romantic images I had of being a writer, and like being a writer is like the thing that I wanted to be most longest, over my childhood and whatnot. Staying in a big house with my young, hot, smart friends while there are storms and we tell ghost stories until we decide to have a writing contest. Yes, please. The Sun Also Rises also made me think a writer could just live in Paris and sit at cafes with their friends and be. And I just thought it was so romantic and cool. Anyway, this isn't about Hemingway, but the story influenced me at a young age. Before I had read Frankenstein, I may have seen bits of the movies. I mean, the influence was a young woman in a seemingly glamorous situation where she writes scary stories with her friends. I mean, that was really formative for me, and actually kind of still sounds fucking awesome. As I've already mentioned, that's the story. It was the summer of 1816, and all of this group of friends were sitting by a fire while storms raged around Via Diodati, which I probably pronounced wrong. It still stands today, by the way, telling ghost stories to pass the time. Lord Byron suggested that they each write their own ghost stories as a contest. Mary was frustrated because she couldn't come up with something right away, and eventually, in what she referred to as a waking dream, she recalled things that she had learned about galvanism, which is electrical currents produced by chemical reactions, and in this case, more specifically, electrical currents within biological creatures. She began to devise what would today become Frankenstein. So a quick summary of the book for those who haven't read it, because it's very different from any of the adaptations I've seen. I haven't watched any of the modern stuff. Like, I say modern stuff, anything in the last 20 years.
The only thing is, like, I just thought it was so cool that, like, literally this whole, I don't know if saga is the right word, but this whole empire, right, of Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster and all of it and all the different adaptations, like, came from a few friends sitting together and being like, her just shooting the shit and being like, this is my story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just thought that was really funny and cute, and just a really cool way that this whole thing started. Just so
Absolutely.
small.
Like, super agree with that. And that was kind of, that's what I was going to do. Is I was just going to tell that story of that day at the cottage or whatever, it's a mansion, that day, and then talk about the evolution of the story. But her story was just too good to not do. But quick summary. I say quick. Victor Frankenstein is a scientist just completely obsessed with creating life. Definitely one of the mad scientists. They're too busy wondering if they could to worry if they should kind of types. Anyway, he, spoiler alert, succeeds, but is repulsed by the creation. Just straight up bounces. The story is told as a series of letters with various points of view. First through Robert Walton, who finds Victor Frankenstein while on a voyage of discovery and adventure in the need of help. Robert is telling this whole story to his sister via letters. He then recounts Victor's story to her, and this is in Victor's voice. And then the last bit of storyception is within Victor's story is the monster story told in his voice. Anyway, after Victor took off from the monster, he just continued on doing what he does until he received word that his younger brother was murdered, and so he goes home. He knows for certain that his monster, who was not given a name, was responsible. A close family friend instead was held accountable and hanged. So now Victor is full of turmoil due to having created an abomination that killed 2 people close to him, and he knows he is responsible. You also get the monster's story of how he went from knowing just absolutely nothing to learning from a family he watched for years and working up to learning their language and understanding their life motivations. He worked up the courage to approach them to disastrous results. This generally being the breakdown of, damn it, I just wanted it to be cool, and I think you are all great, but fucking no! You all had to be scared of me and just assume I'm horrid, so fuck you, fuck this, fuck everything, I'm out.
Yep.
Anyway, that's generally the setup, but I recommend reading it. There's obviously the things that happen from that, but that kind of gives you a general idea of how it's different from what at least cinematic adaptations I'm aware of do.
Yeah, no, I will say I don't think I ever read the book, but I did watch one of the films. And the part I remember the most was the little girl that drowned in the water. Spoilers. The little girl that drowned in the water. And he doesn't know what to do.
He doesn't understand, yeah.
He doesn't understand.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what to do. And everyone's looking at him and they're like, what have you done? And he's like, no. Like, I'm trying to help her.
Well, and she
but
was
he can't
throwing,
voice that.
she was throwing pretty flowers in the water.
Yeah.
And so he thought we just throw pretty things in the water
Yeah.
and watch them float. But
Exactly.
she didn't float. And it was,
Yeah.
yeah, man. We'll get to that movie because that is one of my favorite movies of all time. But it's very, very different from the books.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we don't have the time to talk about it, but it's, definitely worth exploring. So it's pretty heavily debated how much of this is actually autobiographical, but I think there's some pretty heavy implications that at least some of it is. Mary was very much affected by the loss of her child. She created life, but it was gone before she could give it a name.
Mm-hmm.
There are arguments for the parallels between Mary and Victor with their tragic losses. And then it shifts to the parallels between Mary and the monster, feeling out of place and detached. While Mary was pregnant with her second child, Percy had been gallivanting around with Claire and most likely having an affair. You remember what it feels like to be pregnant and miserable?
Mm-hmm.
If your husband was going on dates with someone else, how would you feel?
I don't know. I didn't really like him during that time, so I probably would have been fine with it. He knows. I was just not a fan.
Fair. Fair enough. Anyway, there's a lot more to the personal stories of Mary Shelley. She was an active writer until her death due to a brain tumor in 1951. She was 53 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. There's just really a lot of fascinating points that I'm just going to have to leave out for time because I need to talk about the legacy of Frankenstein itself. Mm-hmm. So there's a list that you can find online of it's like 187 movies.
Oh, wow.
That are either starring Frankenstein, starring the monster, or are inspired by one or both of them. There are a ton of TV shows, plays, music, and fiction that have all been spawned. The very first film was a silent film released in 1910, but the real fire started for modern moviegoers with the 1931 Universal adaptation starring Boris Karloff.
And that was one we saw.
That's the one we were talking about, yeah. This movie... Okay, first, I will say that there are no adaptations that I'm aware of that really stick to the plot of the book. But having said that, like I said, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah. It's top 5.
You feel the tragedy. You feel the heartbreak. I felt so bad. I think I remember I was watching it by myself. I left the room and I was crying. And Ace was like, it's just a movie. And I'm like, you don't understand the heartbreak. Like, he couldn't explain that all he wanted was to be loved and to be accepted. Like, he wasn't a monster.
And that very much captures his story part in the book, I want to say. Like, it was a different story completely, but the vibe is correct. Yeah. I will say that the ending scene, and I guess I just won't say that because even though the movie's almost 100 years old, spoiler alert. But the very last scene is like the most horrific experience I've had with any horror movie ever.
I agree.
Like, I was actually horrified. Yeah. And I don't know, it was just so impactful. Yes. And I still love watching that movie. It's so good. Mm-hmm. I'm going to watch it when I go home. So I definitely recommend that. We both recommend that. Mm-hmm. It's so good. After that, Universal released The Bride of Frankenstein and The Son of Frankenstein, with still having Boris Karloff as the monster. But after that, we start slipping into B-movie territory. I've only seen a couple of these, but I do intend to watch more. Like, there's so many Frankenstein and blah, blah, blah.
And we also have to think of like the Scooby-Doo of it all, you know?
And some of the gems that stand out are like Frankenstein meets Wolfman, Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Oh, good.
And then there's the blaxploitation film Blackenstein.
Oh, God.
I know. There's just so many. There are so many, like, just any genre you can think of, there was a fucking Frankenstein movie. But my absolute favorite, as we mentioned, is the 1931 version. After that one, though, my next favorite is Young Frankenstein.
I wanted to see it. I have not seen it yet. Ace has. Ironically, he hasn't ever seen any movie, I swear. But
it's so
it has
good.
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder
Yeah.
as Young Frankenstein.
Yes.
And it's just magic. I watch that one at least once a year.
Mhm.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time also. I don't know.
That one's supposed to be a comedy, isn't it?
Yes, it's a Mel Brooks movie. He's which I don't know if you're familiar with Mel Brooks. That made me feel very old. But he did.
Like, the name sounds familiar, but I thought Mel Brooks was an actor, so I might be wrong.
He's a director. He's acted in some of his things, but he did Robin Hood Men in Tights, Spaceballs, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
A billion things. Mel Brooks movies are formative to my life. And I recommend most of them. That would be my second favorite one next to the 1931 movie, though. There hasn't really been a stop to the artistic works inspired by Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. There's even a new movie coming out this year directed by Guillermo del Toro with Oscar Isaac playing Victor Frankenstein. And I found out about that while I was researching for this. I didn't even know. I'm not as up to date on current movies, even current horror. So I haven't watched any of the Frankenstein movies from the last 20 years. So I'm probably going to try to start that so I can see what they did, what takes they took on those. So anyways, Mary Shelley is amazing and fascinating, and her stories are worth visiting. I mentioned I had to leave out a ton of the gossipy tidbits and sordid affairs. She lost 3 of her children out of 4. Percy died in 1822 by drowning, and she devoted the rest of her life to publishing Percy's writing and raising her son, the one surviving son. There's also this amazing story about how she helped a woman and a trans man escape to Paris, where they were accepted as husband and wife in the 1800s. Aww. I still have more reading to do. And even with the more research I wanted to do, I still wasn't able to include everything that I had.
Yeah.
Mary Shelley is definitely worth looking into, and her writing is also awesome. The end.
I love that.
I had a lot of fun with this. I've been with Mary Shelley for the last 2 weeks pretty solidly.
Yeah.
And, I always knew that story of the summer of 1816, but I wish I would have known earlier to look into her more.
Yeah. Well, now you know.
Now I know.
And now you know as well, listeners. I said readers. I almost said
Dear
readers.
Dear
readers.
Dear listeners. So, I think that my nightmare fuel is what I just talked about. I think that if you haven't watched the 1931 Frankenstein or Young Frankenstein or read the book Frankenstein or The Modern Prometheus, all worth your time.
Yeah, and I think my nightmare fuel is as silly as it sounds, the FDA's American Chamber of Horrors. Like,
I marked it as to read when
just like look into it. Not just so much. I don't know if the FDA site really has, because I was looking at the FDA site. They don't have a lot of it anymore on there. But the original one, I know was like toured by. It was an actual. Think of it like a museum. Like, it was a tour, and it was toured by Eleanor Roosevelt, I think, and she was just absolutely horrified, by the things that were being presented. And I mean, some of it's just, as simple as these poor people who were literally poor and struggling to survive were being ripped off by, deceptive packaging or coloring of packaging or ingredients that weren't what they said they were.
The more things change, the more things stay the same.
Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting read. And like I said, some of the stuff that I brought up, it's some of it's horrifying. You're like, they were trying to get people to put this on their faces. That is insane.
And suppositories
I
is
know.
where I keep getting snagged.
Exactly.
You're shoving shit up your ass and you don't. Okay.
Exactly. Well, the condom too. You're shoving.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
On and in.
On in, all around, wherever. Smack it around. Anyways. So yeah, that's my nightmare fuel. Look into that if you haven't. Do you want to do a palate cleanser?
I think that is necessary.
Okay. So for the palate cleanser this week, I kind of just wanted to do like I don't know if Q&As or anything, but like just ask you some questions and just
a get to know you kind of thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Getting to know you. Sorry. I'm trying to figure out where that song's from now. Is that a Sweeney Todd song?
No.
What am I thinking? Now I want to watch a musical. Oh, The King and I. Okay. First question. What's the most interesting place you've ever visited?
Salem.
And why?
Because it's neat. Because it's old. It was so old. The Airbnb I stayed in was older than America, and we were right on the commons, right? Like everything was just walkable and so old. And so I just love old shit so much. And it was cool to, obviously the touristy bits, it was fun to see where Hocus Pocus was filmed. And it was really cool to go to all the shops.
I didn't know it was actually filmed in Salem. I figured they would have done it in California.
Part of the walking tours include not Max's house, because that's, like a mile away from the main area, but Vanessa's house, the big, rich people house, that's there, and it has a big, beautiful garden in the back. And then the town hall, that's actually where we met for the walking tour. Anyways, it was just, I don't know, I've always been a little witchy, and it's kind of,
a little witchy, little bitchy.
Little witchy, lot of bitchy. Yeah.
All right, let's see. What's your favorite book, and why does it resonate with you?
Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. I read it in high school, and I had never read a book so perfectly catered to my dark little mind. It's like, if you haven't read it, it's another one I recommend. We can just bonus that on fucking Nightmare Fuel. It's spooky. It's got a carnival, a dark, spooky carnival, and it's kind of a coming of age situation with a lot of really dark themes and a badass, scary witch with her eyes sewed shut and a fucking evil calliope. Just so much cool stuff.
There's a lot there.
It's beautifully written. It's so beautifully written. I actually, the last time I reread it, I had just recently read a bunch of garbage, and like fun garbage that I enjoyed, but like not high quality literature. And I feel like Something Wicked This Way Comes is almost more of a YA, but it's so beautifully written. It's just, I
feel like there's a lot of heart in YA. I feel like it gets a bad rap for the writing style.
I think that people assume that when it's labeled YA that it's for kids, and it's not.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of emotion and heart in it a lot of the times.
Right, there's so much there, and I think it's just people being snobs about it and saying, oh, I'm too good to read a YA, but there's so many great stories.
I agree. What's the most unusual job you've ever done?
I mean, maybe what I have right now, but I don't want to talk about that. I did, when I was in high school, I did tech theater, and because I was, one of the ones that actually knew what I was doing, when one of the big ballets came to use our theater, because we had a really badass theater in my high school, I got to do the light and sound for like a Russian...
I didn't know you did light and sound. I did light and sound.
Did you really? I was an all-around tech person. I did all of it, but light and sound was my favorite. And so, yeah, I got paid to run the light and sound board for the Russian ballet, and it was really cool.
What? That's amazing. If you could have dinner with any fictional character, who would it be?
Oh, that's not fair. I am obsessed with so many fictional characters.
I know. I figured this question would be a good one for you.
I have so many. That's a big question, but I'm gonna... Okay, fictional characters. This is probably... there's probably other different answers, but I'll say there is a character named Alexia in a series of books I like to read from an author named Gail Carriger, who's possibly my favorite author. She writes Victorian, steampunk, vampires, werewolves. It's really great, and it's funny and smart, and it's really good. Anyways, Alexia is the main character in her first series, and she's just so smart and matter of fact, but also weird as hell, and I don't know, funny. So I feel like we'd get along.
I love that. Let's see. Let's do one more. Actually, I might do two more, but we'll first do this one. If you could time travel, where would you go?
Oh, God. Okay, so let's remove all of the horrible shit about, how women are treated in all of time. I don't know. I think I would have done really well in the 70s, but I'm very fascinated with Victorian-ish era.
Same.
Late 1800s, provided that I am of aristocracy and can afford to not be a peasant, which I know that's earlier, but like, I want to be, I want to have means.
I think I wouldn't have minded to like live a day or two, time travel, like maybe take a week vacation in the peasant Victoria era. I don't know how long I'd last, but we'll see,
Well, I think part of the reason why I'd want to have money is just for a better chamber pot situation.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
And
you don't want to empty the chamber pot.
I don't want to empty the chamber pot.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Last question. What's a weird talent that you have?
Do I have one that you know of? Am I forgetting something that I do?
I mean, you're just...
I don't know. I'm pretty straightforward, man. I think maybe the weirdest talent I have is making everybody that lives in your house love me.
Yeah, no, that's true. They are obsessed with you. I think, I don't know if it's weird, but it's a very interesting thing. And I say talent because I don't know many people who can. But when it's something you're interested in, like for you, it's books, obviously, history, and anything relating to gardens.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird the way that you can, I'm like, hey, there's this weird thing. And you're like, oh, yes, I know all of this information. And you just vomit it out. But it's just like, it's crazy because it's like a whole dissertation. And I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? But I can't memorize any of that kind of stuff. Like, you ask me these questions, I would be like, I don't have anything. I'm not that deep.
You are deep, but I think that it comes from, I mentioned, I think in one of our lost episodes that got lost to bad editing.
Oh, we're talking about that now.
Well, we can bring it up. I mean, it's not quite as sore as it was. I think I had mentioned about how you're capable of liking something without making it your entire identity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. Like, if I get into something, I'm fucking in it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is why I've been obsessed with Mary Shelley for the last 2 weeks, because I can't half-ass multiple things, but I can whole-ass one thing real good.
Ooh.
If it's something that I glom onto, I have no chill and I will obsess over it. And this is why you can absolutely adore spooky things and your house looks like a well-rounded person lives in it. And,
no, that's more shame for my parents. Like, I just don't want to hear it.
Oh, yeah. Luckily, my mom's very cool.
Yeah, I put up a skull print and my mom was like, so you like dark, spooky things now? I'm like, it's not that serious, Mom. It's just, it's going to be okay. Right. I left the cross up. You're going to be fine. I promise.
Meanwhile, my mom helps contribute to my spooky shit. So yeah, I guess that does make it a lot easier. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's, I guess that is a thing.
Yeah.
Is being obsessive.
Obsessive in a good way, though. I feel like you're obsessive where it counts, in the way of being informative and helpful without being annoying.
Oh, yes, but it can be destructive, though. We were talking before we started recording about how I've been playing a video game with Monkey, and because I've been trying to play a video game and keep a podcast up and also exist, my house is trashed.
Okay, but that's living life. I feel like I've been appreciating a lot. Like, I know we're kind of getting off topic, whatever.
It's our podcast.
Yeah. But I've been appreciating a lot. I'm a social media trash person. I never post. I just lurk.
Right.
And something that I've been seeing a lot more often is influencers who are like, yes, my home looks like this in the shot, but it also looks like this out of the shot or on other days. And it's a little, I don't know if humbling is the right word, but I feel like that needs to be normalized. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to live. It's okay to live in your house. It's okay to have a day where you don't fucking shower. It's okay to have a day where you just don't get out of bed and you watch TV. Like, obviously, if you're having depressive episodes, please get help. I mean that in the most honest sense. I feel like it's just so, like, especially in our world today, in the way that we grew up, it's very much like, nope, go to work, go home, go to sleep, go to work, go home, go to sleep. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's okay to have hobbies and get excited and let it distract you from life. It'll still be there when we get there. It's too short.
Yeah. But there's also something to be said for moderation. And
yeah, fuck moderation.
Yeah, I'm not good at moderation.
Well, I feel like we have been talking, well, we being me have been talking forever. So I'm sorry I took over this podcast for today, but
I'm not. And I talked just as much as you because my story was crazy long.
Fair enough. So we're even.
This is our nightmare and we do what we want.
It's true. It's my nightmare and I'll cry if I want to.
Sweet dreams.
If you have topic suggestions, movie or book recommendations, questions for the cottage, or just want to say hi, you can email us at nightmarecottage@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at Nightmare Cottage and at our website at nightmarecottage.com. Sleep tight if you dare.